We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a load of money.
Welcome to the Money Tree Show, where we bring you high-level multifamily investors as well as industry-leading experts. We tease out the skills they've acquired, the habits, and the mindset they've developed to make them ultra-successful in the real estate space. It is our goal to give you the knowledge you need to either start your multifamily journey or expand your current portfolio. Whether you're an active investor or looking for a passive investment to supplement your income, this is the podcast for you.
Welcome, Ryan. Thank you for joining today. We're excited to have you on the Money Tree podcast, where we talk with folks about financial freedom. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on. Why don't we just jump right in today and share with us your background, how you got into the real estate industry, how you became a real estate investor, and so forth. We'll start from there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've lived in Clearwater, Florida, from Pennsylvania myself. Been in the restaurant industry, was where I started off at. Skipping the into the equipment finance side while I was still working at restaurants till 2, 3 a.m. and was financing a lot of hotels, traveling across the U.S., meeting a lot of the hotelers, and got into that and saw a lot of people's personal finance statements go from a couple $100,000 to a few million to some big, 7, 8 digits and everything else. But a lot of people, when I worked in the restaurant industry, would come to the bar or the restaurant. A lot of the people that had money and kept the money through recessions and everything were in the real estate field. So always wanted to be an investor. After having 4 kids and a wife, I, especially after the first 1 or 2, didn't want to work at the restaurants till 2, 3, 4 in the morning anymore. So, but yeah, been working on the investing side and still doing some commercial financing. I have 3 deals in closing in January, 3 hotels and 1 self-storage. But transitioning more into the investing side, we closed on 9 assets in 2022 for a little over 600 some units. And they're all apartments, except for we did close on a 200,000 square foot flex space. But I love what I do. I raise capital. We put in earnest money, and we're starting to sign on loans. And we have Entree. It's called Invest in Multifamily. Madeline Yao is my partner in Orlando. We've been Jake and Gino for a little over a year. A couple other masterminds as well. And Madeline really focuses on leasing out the units and that asset management. We all have our roles. We partner with Danny Galvin and Lindsay Galvin with Galvin Capital on the last 8 assets. And we continue to work with them. And that's where I see one of the biggest things right now are working with good teams, good people that are different than you, but have the same goals and focus and determination of where we all want to kind of go. So that's kind of the main parts, but I love what I do. We like buying in Texas and Southeast US. We also like that Midwest. We just closed on a Fort Wayne, Indiana, starting to increase rents on that unit. Also, we closed last week. But yeah, our best asset, I'd like to, kind of go into that. And if you had any, certain kind of questions you had to go through, but our best asset, I think, is the one in Naples, Florida. We got it at $1,350 rents, 63 units. And with a few different increases in rents, we're staggering them still, but our rents are about a $900 increase. So wow. We're at $2,250. And then also you invest in the Charlotte deal, we're doing some interior renovations, and that's going to be about a $600 to $800 increase in rent on that one. It's going to be really good. And right where the city is, it's like 2 or 3 miles from downtown Charlotte. You can see the city right from where you're looking at the street. It's a great location. Our apartments were the sore thumb. Now you can see when we went there to visit a month or so ago, all the other apartment complexes and houses that are around it are all renovated. They knocked a couple down. They're brand new. So it's really exciting of seeing us do these light to heavy value adds. But yeah, it's a fun journey. It's great. It's just really exciting to work with good people.
That's good. Right. That's amazing. How, when did you transition from your W-2 from, doing, your W-2 job up into full-time real estate?
So I would say in 19, I was with some previous partners, and we were putting some earnest money down on a apartment complex in San Angelo, Texas, and then another asset in Texas as well, and then an Arizona hotel to multifamily conversion. And from that November of or before COVID of 19 to when COVID happened in February, March of 20, the banks wanted more money down, reserves, investors started leaving. So that's kind of when we started off, and then lost some earnest money, lost some of the partner relationship that didn't help pay and some of those things. So you learn to kind of who work with, but that's when we started. I was going that year of 2018 to 19, I believe it was, a lot of conferences, conventions, Best Ever Conference, Rod Cleve, just a lot of other events, some multifamily master meetups that I had in New Orleans and different ones out of state in Maryland. I was always traveling years before that to hotel conferences. It's called Asian American Hotel Owners Association. And actually those are a lot of my biggest investors now because I built that relationship with them, financing a lot of their assets and numerous clients that I'd financed 3, 4, or 5 hotels with. But yeah, so 19 started, and then 2020, I with COVID lost some money on the investing side, and then my financing company started. Everybody was wanting reserves. Some of the hotels were not doing well because of COVID. So I didn't make any money for 7 months. We had money saved, which was great. We had our house. We had a lot of equity into it. So long story short, I think you know this, Matt, but we pretty much sold our house. I was talking to my wife, what do you want to do? I'm like, we're playing board games. And at one time we were helping people out with that EIDL disaster loan, but really didn't get paid too much on that and didn't really make any money for a while. And I said, hey, it's been a couple of months here now, making no money, eating and drinking and everything else. I'm at the house. I'm like, kids, and what do you want to do? And I said, everybody's tenting, camping, RV. And she goes, oh, I want to see, let's get an RV and travel. I'm like, well, with not making any money and traveling and getting an RV, that's going to be a few thousand a month to add. I don't want to just diminish our savings. So long story short, we listed our house. The market was hot, and it got even hotter. But sold our house in like July-ish, an RV in June, July, August mark. And of course we were scared because, 5 months making no money at a, having your own 1099 contract and everything. So it was scary. And they were going to check our credit one last time. Didn't. Credit was still good. Sold it, got money for the house, bought the RV right before it. But it was great. We traveled the RV. When we went out towards Colorado, we were in Texas, and we signed on our house to sell it. The mobile notary at the campground signed it. We got our, it was about a 6-figure is what we sold. So that's one big mistake I wish I did was I wish while the traveling for that good almost year time in the RV, we would go for 6 weeks. We'd come back to Clearwater, Florida. We would go to Tennessee, come back, do just small trips. And then, of course, parts for the RV. It was an experience with having 3/4 kids in there and trying to work because I wanted to start making money again. I was meeting investors. I was meeting finance clients. It was fun. But again, getting back on my feet after traveling, came back, and then just 2022 bought a house again and starting back all over. 2022 was a pretty good year. Of 21 was decent, and then 22 was a good year of financing until those rates started going up in that February, March. But that's when I saw, hey, people I know that have assets, that invest, that cash flow, buy and hold for 2, 3, 5 year. That's where I want to be, because when I have a job, a W-2, a 1099, I have no income coming in. If I wasn't working, I wasn't making no money. So right now, our apartments that we have and everything else, they're all increased rents from $250 to $900 a month. They're all doing well. There's hurdles you face, everything else, but I love it. We've traveled over the U.S. now, and I think like 16 states in the RV. But it's been a fun journey, man. I love it. I wouldn't do anything any different.
I love that. I think the fact that you've been able to spend time with the family travel the country while still like getting ready to build your business and see the success that you've had over the last year has been really exciting. A lot to unpack here around family, around the partnerships that you talked about financial freedom and pursuing that path there. I have a question for you. Was there a point, some sort of inflection point or moment in time when you realized that, like, wow, I'm on the right journey. I'm on the right path. I need to give 110%.
When I was on the road, we were just having fun, working. I pretty much worked Monday through Thursday. We always made sure we had a good RV park that had good Wi-Fi. We had extra Wi-Fi on the RV and everything, the whole 9 yards. But just kept working and having that thing where it's not like the car you have, the house you have, and all these material things. It was just spending time with family. We were spending time at our church virtually, spending a lot of time with like our intimate family, doing things, seeing animals in different parks we went to, and just having a good time. So we weren't really focused on all that. It was, kind of upsetting, kind of seeing some of the money go down, and really wanted to close on an asset. We were trying to, get some assets together. But really, once we started getting back on the road, back to our house, where we lived in Clearwater, the in-laws' house, living with them, it was, kind of depressing because you're living with the in-laws again. You're like, wow, we're going backwards here. But of course, we're trying to find a house, and then the house market kept going up so high. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, this house is a turd. But again, you want to buy that nice neighborhood and that kind of turd on the block. And I was like, listen, it needs a lot of work to it. Let's just do the roof. I mean, we'll do the floors. We'll paint the whole thing, and then we'll do bathroom room by room. And we put like 25 grand into the house, moved into there, and we were starting to build up. And I, a couple closings on the finance side and working on the investing side, and that didn't happen until beginning of the year. But it's just also, I think, branding myself is kind of where some of these things started to have that traction, because I'm a type person where I'm always on Facebook. I'm always on social media. So if you're like, oh, I know you're from Facebook. I'm like, okay, what was your name? And I don't even just see a phone number on there. But it's good because, that's what I've learned from Tim Bratz and others, to brand yourself. So I was like commercial traveling finance guy. Now people were like, well, you're an investor, but you do financing. And then they'll invest with my partner. I'm like, well, how'd that? He's like, well, he's a finance guy. So, but it's one of those things, just really trying to show people about the branding. We're educating our investors and some of those things. But once we closed our first deal, we were already in Jake and Gina by then for 4 or 5 months, and was advertising in the group that we closed the deal, and then somebody else let me into the second deal. And what's kind of funny is the first 2 deals that I closed are other general partners that I used to work with beforehand that I failed at with raising capital. So it's how do you say it? It's one of those things where you fail, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to keep financing hotels and self-storage and multifamily. It's easy. Don't want to get out of my comfort zone, but really push through. And with the help of, the deal room with Jennings and Yaden Smith and Jake and Gino and others in the group, they're like, hey man, you're real close to getting it. You're real close. Keep going. And when I did close those first 2 deals, that same operators that I failed at raising money, we ended up forming that partnership with Galvin Capital, Javier, and a few others that just kept boosting us up. And we found what we're good at, raising capital and helping others grow with us, and bringing other people that want to help out with asset management, help find deals. And just from there, it kind of took off. And then every time we closed deals, somebody's like, oh, there goes Ryan again. I'm like, well, I'm just posting it. But every time I would post, I would have somebody going, hey, I have 50K. What do I do with it? What do you think? Or I have 500K. And that's what would start those conversations. So I would post certain things, and then my partner would post, hey, do you have a 1031? And also, listening, because again, I failed. So I'm like, how do I raise capital? How do I do these things that I failed at before? So what you do is you listen to people that are good at it. So Sam Silverman and a few others that were crushing it out there. I was like, let me listen to him. So I went out to Tampa to meet up with him, 30, 40 minutes from where I live, heard him, and then talked to him like 3 or 4 times on the phone. He's like, where are the people at? What do they do? And asked me questions instead of telling me how to do it. He was like, instead of going, here's a fish, he would teach me how to fish. So it was really cool learning from people like Sam Silverman and a few others of how to raise the capital. And and then educating the investors instead of talking about the numbers and the deal, it's more about relationship, the team, and the partners. So still learning on it and everything else. And the biggest thing is following up. Like I have some people that are asking me, hey, I have 300 investors and they invested a couple hundred on a deal. How do I do this? Like, well, what did you do? As a consulting, like I've done in restaurants and hotels. And they're like, well, I emailed them all. I emailed them all 3 times. I'm like, okay, well, when did you call them? Did you text them? No, I didn't do any of that. I'm like, you have to do that. You have to follow up. Hey, Matthew, did you get the email that I sent you with the operating memorandum for the self-storage we have about the apartments in North Carolina? Did you see that? It's really good. It'll double your money in like 2 to 3 years. Our team is really experienced. But, just working on that. And then also it is a little bit harder than those holidays of raising capital too. But I think you're just having that real solid team. So I know I kind of went on, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's so much to unpack there, and I think that's one of the exciting things about your story and your journey is like seeing your success is just there's a lot there. So let's unpack a few things on partnerships. The more Anthony and I have gotten into real estate investing, the more we realize that this is a team sport. You can't do it by yourself at scale. I mean, you can certainly do it in the single family space, but in the multifamily space, this is really a team sport. Can you share some attributes of what do you look for in a partner? How have you found your partners? What do you value in your partners? Is it their track record? Is it the deal that they bring to the table? Perhaps a bit of both. Just share a little bit about partnerships and your thoughts there.
Well, I mean, one of the things I look for in a partnership that I was kind of looking for in mentorships too are people that aren't really, flashy, talking about their cars and their houses and these things, that are talking about, their faith and their family and then trying to work out and be fit and everything else, which, I saw in a lot of the masterminds I was in. But that's what we looked for in a partner, somebody that has those same big, crazy, scary goals, but then also somebody that pushes me, but not pushes, too hard where it's, whether or not helping you and team working together. But somebody that has family values, calling partners like, hey, with my kids, I'm like, oh, cool, it is like 5:30, man. Sorry, it's, then sometimes it's like Sunday at 1, 2 p.m. And I'm like, hey, man, it's Sunday, man. I just go back from church. I'm like, but there comes that we're in that busy season now where we're just ramping up that first couple of years of getting a lot of assets. But I think somebody that's really good at working on their family, that's working on their faith, that's working on the fitness and has those same goals. And then also people that do different things. Like if I'm not an underwriter, I want to find somebody on the team that was good underwriting. And Madeline and I weren't underwriting people. And I was like, hey, we need somebody that underwrites. And Danny's like, oh, I underwrite. My wife underwrites. And then we have our nephew that can underwrite. And of course, when I, was 3 or 4 deals, we closed with Javier, he would underwrite the deals. And he has his daughter, I think she's 21 now, and she underwrites them. So I was like, okay, here's the deals. Well, I found out when I was spending a lot of time trying to find deals, trying to underwrite deals, I'm like, listen, I'm good at networking, finding people to build our team, to add people to our team, and to raise capital, and then putting earnest money in, which of course, then I'm looking over the underwriting that somebody else did, just making sure that it makes sense. But yeah, man, people that are different than us, that have those same goals. And then sometimes I'll close the deal and I won't think about it. And Danny's like, hey man, go out for dinner, do something fun, celebrate it. So somebody that's encouraging you to celebrate those wins with you. But yeah, it's just a great partnership. I didn't think that they were going to be my partners with Madeline and I. But and then Madeline, she's different than I am with her marketing and leasing out units. I don't want to be sitting there working with a PM and leasing out units. So, people that are different skills than I am, that have the same goals.
And that's amazing. And then, backing up a little bit, clearly you got a mindset that most people want, right? Like, I mean, I keep hearing you saying that you failed a few times, that there was some uncertain times. You moved in with your in-laws. I know that well. I did it twice in between new builds, so I know your pain. I know that well. But for the either the new investor or the W-2 person out there who's really looking to do what you've accomplished or even get partially of the way there, like what kind of advice do you have to really keep that that grind going and keep that mental mentality to really continue on the journey, even though things might get tough? I mean, what kind of advice might you have for that new investor out there?
It's easy because I listened to Denzel Washington, and he's like, if it's easy, there would be no Denzel Washington, all these things. But just trying to find something to, again, that family, that faith, that fitness, and all those things. Because the more I go to work out, the more I go to the eat better. I'm not laying on the couch as a couch potato. I have more energy. But also when you get, I listen to Mark Evans' DM, and it's just little bits and pieces that I listen to everybody, and there's little pieces. So but Mark Evans' DM in one of his books talks about getting up at 5:55, just 5:55. So I did that, 5:55, now 5:45, now it's like 5:40, 5:45. I'm in the gym at 6. It opens up at 6, like 6:15. I'm in the gym. Starbucks opens at 6. Get my coffee, my water. But just getting the energy. But I go to the gym and I'm like, okay, what do I do here? I don't feel like doing nothing. Like, I have no motivation, no energy. So again, it's like, oh, you go to the gym and you're just energized. I'm like, no. I go to the gym and I'm like, I'm tired. I had ice cream last night and this and that. I'm like, so again, I put on something that I think that my body needs and my mind and everything else. I put on Eric Thomas. He's a nice preacher and everything else. And he's like, hey man, he's like, you can't do this yourself. And being the lion. But it's just listen to that. People are like, oh, you listen to music at the gym? I'm like, no, I don't. So I'm listening to podcasts. I listen to Ed Millett, and there's people that really pump you up. And then I get out of the gym and I'm like, watch out. And people are like, what's going on? And I come home and I'm like, hey kids, you guys up? And you guys do your homework yet? And they're like, Dad, it's like 7:00. What's going on? So yeah, man, I think it's real important that as much as I work and all these things, it's listen to these motivational speakers that have the same values as you, or look to where when you write your visionary and your goals and your vision board, all these things down of where you want to be, and backtrack and find out how you're going to get there and who you're calling. And, you're trying to be the best Ryan Dumas, the best Matthew Damon that God created for you. Because you're like,
these are the healthy habits and routines that successful people start to implement in their lives. And Ryan, this is one of the reasons why you're so successful. Can you share with us some of your habits and routines around family? I know that you're a big family man. I see you posting things all the time. Talk to the audience a little bit about some of your weekly things that you do with the family, and maybe the monthly and so forth.
So again, the back in the fitness, trying to get to the gym early in the morning so I can get back. And I don't spend a whole lot of time with them in the morning, but one thing I do is every Thursday we have daddy-daughter day. So I have 4 daughters, 3 that live with us, and one's from my ex-wife that's a few miles down the road. 17 years old and getting ready to go to college. But when she's off, whatever it is, I'm like, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. And so every Thursday we do daddy-daughter day, 7 to 8 in the morning, 8 to 9 o'clock, 8 to 9:30. I usually don't have any calls on Thursdays till 9:30 or 10 a.m. And some people are like, hey, can you do 9 o'clock on Thursday? I'm like, I can't do that day. And they're like, you can't do it. I'm like, well, until 10 o'clock. Like, you don't go in the office till 10. I'm like, it's daddy-daughter day. So, but, and this is during COVID. So I think it's been about a year and a half or so that I do it. And they actually get upset when we go on vacation and it's a Thursday, or, 2 days later, it's a Thursday. And I'm like, hey, daddy-daughter day. I'm like, oh, we're going hiking now, or we're doing this with the family. But it's that time where I asked them, how was your week? Stuff that's good that happened. Oh, mommy did this and we had fun and we had everything. But then also, hey, anything bad happened, anything to talk about, they may bully you, or, any of these, kind of these things that, you want to get out of them so they can kind of, talk and everything else. But it's really helped because in 19, I had a really good year on the finance side, really good year. And it was like money. But then it got to be where spend that time, because I did see a little video or something on Facebook during COVID. It's like, hey, daddy, how much do you make an hour or something? And it was like, I don't know, $200 as an attorney or something like that. And the girl goes, here's $200. Can I have an hour of your time? Or $100, kind of half hour each hour was. I'm like, oh shoot, they don't even have, they want to get 30 minutes. So I saw that, and I know I shoved my wife away at one time going, hey, I'm making like $20,000. I know it's 6 p.m., but just, and she's like, I've had dinner on the table for 30 minutes here. I've been cooking dinner for you for years or whatever it is. And, so I'm just like, wow, I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm like, but, looking back, just trying to be better and better. There's lots of things that I'm not good at. There's lots of things I'm working on getting better. But again, trying to spend more time with our church communities, spending more time at the gym, the fitness, spending more time with my kids riding a bike, spending more time with my kids out to breakfast. And now we're beginning of the year, like everybody else. Now we're trying to, be with the kids and eat better. We just threw out cookies and ice cream and all this stuff yesterday. So again, but first day back in the gym myself for this year. The gym was closed 2 days ago because of observed New Year's Day. But yeah, man, I get mad when the gym's closed. So I mean, it's you gotta have that mindset, but also listen to others, because kind of like the same thing you're talking about. It's if I'm hanging out with 5 people that have no mindset, that are whatever it is, drinking, doing this, hanging out late night, doing bad things, whatever it is, I'm going to follow what they're doing. If I'm hanging out with 5 people that are, really trying to spend as much time with their family and their spiritual side's really good, I'm going to start being like them. You are who the people you hang out with, no matter who says it and everything else. But it's really strong to do that. And I've been trying to learn from my father-in-law. He was a pastor and a deacon in the church and everything, but just trying to be around him spiritually. But again, trying to be with the kids. You don't know when your last day is, and it's not about how many assets you have, how much money you have. I do put that on Facebook sometimes, because then people really know what you're doing. And I do it so somebody's like, "Oh, you've closed on 9 assets." And again, it's not that I'm better than you. It's that I have a little bit more experience of what I've done wrong and what I've done right. Let me see if I can help you out a little bit. So I see that all the time.
I'm glad to say that about the family side. I think the 3 of us are all overachievers, and it's good to know that we're all struggling. Sometimes we want to go out there and hit our goals and achieve things, but you really have to make a conscious decision to spend time with the family, right? So that's awesome you're doing that. Do you have any specific what's your outlook for it's the beginning, it's January right now as we record this, 2023. What, do you have any specific believe in specific goals, or you have anything set for the year to come, either personal or professional?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue the Thursdays with the kids, trying to be a little better leader in the house, trying to be a little bit nicer and a little bit more patient with the wife. I know it's something I'm always working on and everything. And more vacations. We're trying to plan some more vacations. Not exactly Barbados, but I mean we're going. And I'm first time I'm bringing my wife to a conference. I've asked her a few times. She's like, "Well, I'm not going there," or "Who am I going to hang out with?" And I don't want to talk P&Ls and balance sheets and GPs and LPs. She makes fun of it. But so I'm going to be speaking at the Next Deal Mastermind in with Josh Wilson in New Orleans. I think I speak after Pace Morby, which is crazy. But nice. So my wife's going to that. I'm like, listen, they gave me a plane ticket. I got a hotel. I'm like, you just got to get your plane ticket and let's go. So she's going to that. It'll be my first time doing that. I'm trying to spend more times. And then last year at Jake and Gino, I brought my wife and kids. And I was like, well, I'll go to Jake and Gino. I'll do all this stuff, and I'll go spend a couple hours with them. I ended up spending like 6 or 7 hours a day with my family, and then 5 or 6 hours at Jake and Gino, sleeping like 3 or 4 hours type stuff, going to dinner, all this, and then going back to like a Vanilla Ice concert and all that. But just putting in the work. I mean, we can rest later. But also listening to Luke Wren that spoke at my mastermind of, really resetting, really resting. So this year I'm going to be a little more resetting, resting, because when you're raising capital, when you're looking over deals, when you're in a mastermind, when you have your own mastermind, you have a lot to do. And if you're time blocking with kids and you have that 8, 9, 10-hour day that's in there, you have to do all those things in there. So I did hire a VA last year. That was one of the things that I did. And then towards the end of last year, I hired an EA, an executive assistant. So I really want to use them better and make sure that I'm spending less time on Facebook. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing is spending a few hours, less on social media. And so I'm not looking at that, and I get up and I have 100, 200 emails. So giving up controls of Facebook Messenger and the LinkedIn. So that's one of the things there. And then also just we're looking at closing on 23 assets for 23. And helping more investors out. There's so many investors that I know that, paying high tax capital gains or have money in the checking account, savings account, 401k, and they're making nothing. I just love educating them. So it's not even about us making 25, 50 grand, 100 grand. It's just about educating them and putting them into a safe asset with a strong team and good operators. And that's why it's about team, because when I was in the commercial financing, most of the financing ended for the first 5 or 6, 7 years was hotels, and a lot of my hoteliers, they it took a lot for them to trust and have that relationship. But now they're here's 200 grand, here's 500 grand, here's $1 million. But I have others will tell the same person, like, oh, he said he doesn't have this. I'm like, no, they have a lot of money. But yeah, it's that trust and relationship. And I'm looking forward to having going to less conferences, going meetups with my passive investors, my doctors, attorneys, my hoteliers, and Clearwater in Orlando this year. And my goal last year and this year was to travel less, maybe travel in Florida so I can be back in a day or 2 days, like a day max. This is going to Arizona, California for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. But again, faith, family, fitness, and the commercial real estate comes in after.
That's awesome, Ryan. It seems like you're really trying to use your time very intentionally, intentionality in 2023. And I love that you're analyzing how you've used your time in the past year, 2 years, and kind of rolling that forward for 2023, figuring out exactly what you want to do. So now we're going to start entering into the last segment. We asked the same for everyone. So question for you, Ryan, is there a real estate book that you found to be really beneficial on your journey that you share with our audience?
And I really have not read a full real estate book. I will listen to podcasts and motivationals, but and I hate to say the word like I'm not good at or anything else, but I'm just not a good reader, man. I can visualize and look and watch so much better, but I've looked and saw pieces of 1% Better by Ed Millett. So I look at this, but I have not read through it. I'm bad at that.
I actually appreciate your answer. I actually really appreciate that, because everyone talks about, all these books that they're reading. You're just taking action and you're surrounding yourself. You don't necessarily have to be the expert on everything. This is why we create partnerships, right? And this is why real estate investing is a team sport. You don't need to be the expert on everything. You're the expert on financing for sure. But you went out and you found yourself the expert on underwriting. You found yourself the expert on asset management for your team. And that's been a huge part of your journey. So maybe books aren't a big piece of it, but there's certainly a lot of other elements that in expertise that you bring, and that's okay. So that's a great answer.
That is a great answer. And I know you mentioned Eric Thomas. It sounds like you're more of a listening guy, which I am as well. I actually like Eric Thomas. I believe the lion, not the gazelle, is his line, right? That's what you need to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Who else you listen to? What other either motivation wise, podcast wise? What's kind of your favorite go-tos?
Denzel Washington, Ed Millett, Eric Thomas. Then there's a whole bunch of people that are in the was it Jim Rome? There's a lot of them in there. But people read the books or that they have, and I'll start reading something and just no clue what I read sometimes, and then I'll watch the video, listening, and like, oh, here's what they said, here's what they do, and everything else. But I'm just a more visual person. I've always been like that and everything. But yeah, I love it. I love, like what you said earlier, about others and everything, of helping them, of where to be, because somebody would say about underwriting, and I'm trying to underwrite, I'm trying to find a deal, I'm trying to raise the capital, I'm trying to manage the asset, and I'm like, how are you going to do that for an 80 unit? You're doing that all by yourself, and we'll have two single family homes or whatever it is. I'm like, well, what have you been doing? Like, well, I've been doing this for 2 years, and I don't have anything. And I'm like, well, what do you like to do? Like, well, I really like to underwrite and find the deals. But I'm like, well, are you underwriting it correct? I'm like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I suggest working with, Shark Line Equity, Chris Jackson, somebody that's really good at underwriting a deal, so you know how to do it, since you like to do it. Find somebody else that's good at raising the capital and doing the due diligence and the construction and all those things, because if you want to have like, 3, 4, 5 single family homes and do all the work, cool. But again, the teamwork, like Matthew said, is just awesome because I can go, hey, I'm going to North Carolina for 3 days. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to be working the drive there and the drive back and up in the mountains and everything else. Like, but we know that one of the partner can go there if a fire happens, if we can't increase the rents and somebody's upset about it. And we're like, hey, listen, if it makes sense for you to stay for another couple more months and not increase it, but it's just, we're always there. We're a couple of partners speak Spanish on the phone. So there's people that are in Lakeland and Texas that we need somebody to speak Spanish to that have trouble. And they're like, but just different things. But it's good to have partners with different skill sets. It just complements us and everything else. And some people think that they go in this multifamily space and they got to do it all. And I tell them, all you got to do is be good at one or two things. But that's why teams are very important. And that's why that's why it's good to be in a mastermind, a coaching program, but not be in, 10 masterminds where you're never on the calls, never going to the events and everything else, but having that happy medium of going to the conferences, going to the conventions, being a couple masterminds, but then also taking action and having that team. And people that 3-4 years have been going to all these conferences and don't have anything. And, they know everybody and everything else. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to do it all and trying to do this and trying to do that. And, you really got to focus. Like when you listen to these, motivational speakers, they're not going to just tell you to do everything. They're, be disciplined, focus and determination and keep failing, keep getting up again. It's like, fall down 99 times, get up 100, I think Denzel says, but and then sometimes you're like, oh, you sound like this person. I'm like, well, I listen to him, 4 times a week, 5 times a week. But different speakers that are in there. Mark Evans, I listen to some of his podcasts. And so what I'll do is that, I try to read the book. I'll download some of his podcasts or, listen to their interviews and everything else. But yeah, it's a good team sport, and I love it. Looking to get into closing out a lot more investment deals this year and educating others. And with our mastermind that we are doing, it's called F7. And there's family, faith, fitness, and a few other F's in there. And there's 7 of us in the group, and we're looking to educate 1,000 people this year is our goal, and help them either get their first asset, second, third, and then there's people in there that just want to passively invest some money. And they want to see who the good groups are, and they'll see it while they're in that group as well.
Nice. Is there a way for people listening to look up F7, or how do they go about that?
Yeah, I mean, they can contact me on Facebook, or I can give my cell phone number or something. But VN Toby Emma is in Dallas, and then we have our site, the Multifamily Real Estate Group. It's like MREG, Multifamily Real Estate Group. I think we have like 9,300 members in there, and we had like a couple thousand a few months back. Toby's been really good at getting those numbers, hire people in the group, and then weeding out the people that are spamming the group and everything else. We're always getting rid of that. But I have Multifamily Empire. I have it's Ryan Dumas. I'm in Clearwater, Florida. And then if wants to get a hold of me, the phone number, it's gonna be 727-729-2647, but a good Facebook message, text would be great. And we're capping off our multifamily, the group at about 200 people. We were going to do 100, and we're just going to slowly get it to where we're a good group. We're finding out each person what their skill set is, and we're going to pair them with others and really hold them accountable.
Well, Ryan, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today, sharing your story, your journey, a little bit about your background and your and how family is incredible for our time with you today. And look forward to talking to you more. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate y'all.
You're welcome. I don't know about you, Matt,
Thanks,
but my 2023 goal is to be more like Ryan Dumas. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you for listening to The Money Tree Show. We hope to inspire you to achieve financial freedom. To see a sample real estate deal, head over to www.themoneytreeshow.com.